Hello and welcome to Cinemondo with my guests, Jimmy and Deniz. Everybody knows who you guys are.
Hi, everyone.
Jimmy Cage has a podcast where he reviews and reacts to movies and various things, and Deniz is also on his show. And he does the same thing. We all react. I know. I'm always like, how do I introduce people? I have no idea.
It was fine.
Yeah. So tell me a little bit how we'll just start in with how you got started doing this and how you discovered Indian films in general, because that's kind of the topic, because I've kind of become obsessed with them, because once you discover them, you're like, I didn't know this was out there. This is amazing. So how did you fall into it?
The beginning of the channel was back in 2015. I think my first review was for Mission Impossible Rogue Nation, I think. And I was always into films. Deniz and I, we studied film here in Vienna in Austria. And I just started this YouTube channel, started to review movies. And then 2 years later, I think 2017, someone recommended Baahubali in the comments. Just completely out of the blue, just said, you have to watch Baahubali. And for some reason I did. For some reason I was inclined to watch it. And I will never forget it. I watched it and it was so bonkers, but so much fun. I watched it and then I pretty much immediately told Deniz that he should check it out as well. I'm not sure at that point. I think Deniz and I already did a review together.
Yeah,
or was Baahubali our first one? I'm not sure.
No, we did Magnificent Seven. The remake was the first one where I appeared on your channel.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so people already knew him. And then we watched Baahubali, and we did kind of a special format for that movie review. It wasn't just a normal review. We wanted to do something else. So we did like this mixture of silly jokes and spoofs and mixing in other movies that we were reminded when we watched Baahubali.
You want to watch some Bollywood?
Oh, I don't know. Okay, I'm in. And that, I think the review was like 20 minutes long or 25 minutes long, something like that. Oh. And we were very proud of the video, but we made one giant mistake because we were so new to Indian cinema that we didn't know about the battle between North India and South India, and we knew already that it wasn't Bollywood. We knew that. Yeah. And yet we decided to call this new format Buddy Loves Bollywood. Deniz is Buddy, and I just like the ring of it. Buddy Loves Bollywood. And then in the video, like 2 minutes into, we already stated, we know it's Tollywood, but this new segment is called Buddy Loves Bollywood. Now in hindsight, really stupid mistake.
And still people today reminding us of that mistake that we did 5 years ago.
But with the second episode, we did Eega, and then we called it Buddy Loves Tollywood. So we still got some slack because people don't like the whole wood thing in general. They think it's a little bit kind of a diminishing term, and I can understand that. So now we just say Indian cinema.
That is really the safest bet, because but see, when we started, exact same thing, just doing our movie reviews. Hey, you need to watch Baahubali. What's that? Maybe. And we also got a lot of requests for War for some reason. War and Baahubali were the two big movies that we got. Yeah. So we tried Baahubali first. And the same thing. I was like, this is so good. Like, what? I had no idea. Didn't really expect it. I don't know why, but it just was so original, and so there was sort of the sense of joy, and you could tell the filmmakers loved making it. And I was like, this is real. So then I'm like, okay, where's part two? And then, like we made the same mistakes. You go in and you just think it's all Bollywood, and then you're like, no, it's not Bollywood. And then and then it's the same wars. But it was that random comment. And I kind of ignored the first couple because you're always getting requests, and then they just start piling up. And so here we are taking more requests. And trying to get right.
We get so many.
I love it too, because you start learning the styles, the different, really different styles all the languages in the films have. So that's when you realize somebody like, Rajamouli, he's making these films. He isn't Hindi. So the fact this movie broke through is kind of a really huge deal, especially like we're hearing about in America, which, trust me, is amazing to me. Like people were actually talking about an Indian film is, it's just major. Idea.
Yeah, absolutely. I think with Baahubali, Rajamouli is kind of one of the front runners for that whole pan-India phenomenon, that movies that are produced in the South get released at the same time, dubbed in different Indian languages. I think that I'm not sure if it started with Baahubali, but Baahubali was an important movie to do that. And now it's quite common that these big Indian blockbusters are like pan-India. And now with RRR, of course, like pan-world and coming out everywhere. And it's even, it will be screened again here in Vienna next Sunday. And looking forward to see it one more time on the big screen.
So it only seems appropriate that because our introductions all seem to be Baahubali, and it's all SS Rajamouli, that we should do a little overview of his films. So I had started some. Oh yeah.
What? Yeah, I just wanted to say that Baahubali really wasn't exactly my introduction to Indian cinema. It was my introduction to doing this on YouTube and doing it with Jimmy, because he wrote me a text saying that we've got to watch this, we've got to do this, and let's do a video and things like that. But I actually knew a little bit more about Indian cinema because I always had this interest in the movies, because like in the 90s and at the beginning of the 2000s, movies with Shah Rukh Khan became very famous in Germany.
Yeah.
And we had a TV channel where these movies were shown like every Sunday. And when you watch such a movie, you were always asking yourself, why is it the way it is? And I was asking myself that, like, also when we were studying, because I took a class about Indian cinema.
Oh, he's way ahead of us.
Yeah.
Well,
I took a class
not anymore.
Not anymore. Now I'm behind.
Oh no.
Jimmy has watched like 200 movies more than me, so
wow.
I have no idea.
About right.
That's amazing.
But I've seen some movies during the class, and I watched some others like before Baahubali. But yeah, the whole thing really got rolling with Rajamouli. I have to be honest.
Yeah. Well, because it seemed to break through as this. It felt like something you just didn't expect from Indian cinema. Like it just for some reason, I don't know what I thought, but it was so refreshing. And like, if this is what they're like, I want more of this. So give me more. And then, we started, RRR, I do movie promotion. So I appreciate all the trailers and the posters, and I've been so blown away by the massive campaigns these movies have. So when we discovered Indian film, we were discovering RRR way back when they were just doing their trailers. We didn't really know what it was. And, we're seeing all these, and so build up to the shirt and the trailer. Everything else became obsessed. It was cool just to discover and learn along the way to this groundbreaking, insane film. So I feel really fortunate that I got to start, my journey on Indian films sort of in a way, beginning with RRR as a unknown quantity, because the movie hadn't come out yet. We were just seeing trailers. So it was kind of a cool discovery aspect, that and KGF, which I was like, why is everything initials? I was very confused by the movie. Like the KGF, KGF2, RRR. I mean, they're all initials. What does that mean? I don't know.
And the actors also work with NTR and whoever.
That's what's happening. So yeah, that was another fun discovery, and now I see why, because they're really hard to pronounce sometimes. So I guess if we want to go through his career, do you want to start with RRR and move back, or do you want to start at the beginning and move forward?
Actually, we pretty much went backwards through his whole filmography. When we started out, we started with, of course, Baahubali, and then we went each time like one movie prior to that. So we went backwards. And I think we can do that today as well. Now, of course, we start with RRR, and let's just start with RRR.
Let's just start. I mean, that's the freshest. We've all seen it. It's in the news. It's like the big news here is that Rajamouli is promoting it in America, and he's spending a bunch of money on campaigning for the film. And for some reason, people seem surprised by that. But I will tell you, like the FYC campaign, which is a 4-year consideration campaign that movies all have, and this might seem obvious to you guys, but in case people don't know, is like movie companies spend a ton of money advertising for the Academy, but it also brings attention to the movie. So if he's spending his own money on that, super smart, because it does work. And so they're just people. The Academy is not a panel. It's not a political entity. It's basically just a bunch of people who are nominated for Oscars, and then you're instantly in the Academy, and you get to vote for other people. So you're just addressing other actors, directors, behind the scenes people, camera, or So that's like the big deal is like the advertising works, and also because critics are talking about it. It's getting in these top 10 lists. It's getting nominated for all these critic circles. I mean, that's the stuff that puts you way ahead. So it's not like they have to worry about a political maneuvering. No, just advertise, get it in people's heads, and they'll be like, "Oh yeah, I've heard of RRR. I'm going to vote for that." It's kind of crazy.
But it's really interesting that you give us this insight. It's not like I of course knew that it works like that, but so many people ask us or ask, why is this movie? Why isn't it nominated? Why isn't India sending this movie, and why this one? And Jimmy, you made a whole video about
I think
it
like
too.
2 years
and
ago,
it's good to have this explanation.
I made a video about why Indian movies aren't getting nominated for Oscars, because so many times people were asking us that, and I was explaining like you have to put money behind it, you have to create an Oscar campaign for it, and normally that doesn't happen. But with this movie there's a chance.
And it's I know that the official entry from India, which I'm not sure how they choose those, I think that is more like a panel of judges.
That's a panel. I think not a lot of people are in that panel, so it's a very, very small circle that decides, and people are always angry with their decisions. When I look on Wikipedia, a lot of those entries aren't that bad, honestly. I think a lot of those entries are the typical independent movies and critics, darlings for critics. But this year they really had a chance to nominate RRR. That would have been a very smart move. Instead, they nominated Last Film Show, which I think is an amazing movie. I really love that movie.
It looks really good.
It's fantastic, and I think people who are into movies will totally dig it. It's kind of similar to Cinema Paradiso. Some people claim it's a remake, but those people, honestly, I think they haven't seen the movie, because it's still very, very different. But it's a fantastic movie, but there's not the same buzz behind it. And and
it's again like RRR is such a big Hollywood movie. It's like exactly everything. And I think sometimes if it's a big, entertaining, flashy, movie, people don't take it seriously. Like, Last Film Show is this small, artful film. It's like an art house film. Very, technically great, probably good acting. But RRR is like this, it's like that Top Gun of India. It's like people respect the fact it made tons of money and that there's big actors in it and it's a big film, but Oscars serve in a way so it doesn't usually reward that sometimes. But I think in this case, a foreign film, it's hard to get into that category of foreign film. I think there's only 5 entries allowed. But we get into Best Picture, they changed it to like 10 movies now. So now some foreign films like Parasite are making it into that last round, which really helps bring more awareness to, foreign films, which I'm very happy about. So it feels like, and too, I feel like when people discover RRR, they think, I discovered this. This is mine. It's secret. No one knows about it. And then you start spreading the word and you feel like you kind of own it. It's like, oh, I'm rooting for it. So I kind of have that little bit of ownership with it. Like I knew it when it was just a baby teaser trailer. And now it's grown up into an Oscar nominee.
Yeah, we loved Rajamouli before it was cool.
Exactly. You knew it before RRR. Exactly. Yeah. And we watched, I watched Baahubali too, and 1 and 2. And was again, you could see the glimmer in 2 of the huge amount of spectacle that he can really bring, and he sure did.
As we went through his filmography, we realized like this, we call it the Rajamouli formula that he has, and why we think these movies work. And you can see from like we haven't seen the first 3 movies we haven't seen. We started with his 4th movie. And from there on, even from the 4th movie, probably also from his first movie, you can see like these little things that even are in RRR now.
I know. I hate saying it. I feel like I sound like I'm stuttering.
I don't know. Better is triple R or Rise, Roar,
Rajamouli
Revolt,
definitely
or,
says RRR.
Okay, he does.
Then?
Damn it! I like triple R. That's cool.
Yeah, triple R is easier to say for sure. And I watched an interview before today, and initially he didn't even want to go with the name for the final movie. It was just the working title, because at the beginning it was just for Rajamouli and NTR and Ram Charan, so triple R.
I love
and
that.
then people just liked it, and then they came up with these different words in different Indian languages, and now even in English with Rise, Revolt, Roar. I think. So it's a great title.
I love that. That's so fun. And I like that it doesn't necessarily mean anything to the movie. They're not really even describing the movie, really. It's like it's sort of Revolt, but it's just its initials. People will remember it. It's got actors in it. Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, we discussed it also after we watched the movie. Like he uses this Rise, Roar, Revolt in the movie with these little snippets. Then we see the word, but it doesn't really mean anything. It's just but he makes no secret out of it. Yeah, it's just that's it. Have fun. Yeah.
I think didn't they do a musical number? Was it? I think it was the credit sequence maybe where he came out with the actors and was dancing, and they were kind of in a way making fun of the title. And it was, maybe I dreamed it. I don't remember. It's kind of hard to tell the difference. But yeah, I was pretty blown away. I'm so glad I saw this in the theater for the first time. Yeah, we did it like a vlog style. And we were kind of, again, so new to it. We were like, it's kind of blown away. And it was like, they're really long. It's a long time to be in the theater. But the Natu Natu dance, oh my God, that just blew me away in the theater. I was like, what is happening? Like, never seen anything like it. It was so stunning. And they have a lot of great stuff in that movie, but that thing really stood out. That whole dance thing, wow. Holy shit. Yeah,
because it also comes like out of nothing. The dance at that moment. I mean, you expect it somehow, but it's like when the volume in the cinema, when it's loud enough, it's like this, whoa, what's happening here? And you really get blown away. Pushing your seat, it's really nice. And when the cinema's also packed, a lot of people like cheering. It's awesome. I mean, I was in cinema. There wasn't like that many people, maybe 30 or 40, but it was all right. I remember when we watched Baahubali 2. When the cinema was packed, and they were like everybody was cheering when Prabhas came on screen, and it was wow, that's so awesome. You don't get that with many movies that are not from India.
That's true. Yeah, everybody's very polite and just sitting there.
Yeah,
and unfortunately. Go ahead. I was going to say we saw it during the pandemic, so theaters weren't super full.
Yeah,
Throw that out there.
But with RRR, it's on Netflix, and it went on Netflix pretty early. So I showed my father this movie, and my father has never in his life watched an Indian movie. And I thought I will show him the beginning, because the beginning is so awesome in the film. So and then let's just see how it goes. But then he was so into it that we watched the whole movie. We even watched it with subtitles, because there's only the Hindi version on Netflix. So I think it was also not just the first Indian movie that he saw, but also the first movie with subtitles that he saw.
Oh my God.
when it was over, he wanted to see the dance number one more time.
I did the same thing. I came right home and looked for it on YouTube. I had to see it, and I played it really loud. I play it still sometimes. I want to dance, but I will not dance that way. There's no way.
I think this song really has a good chance at the Oscars.
Very good chance, because I mean, you can't beat that spectacle of that. And like you were saying, I love how they kind of build into it. Like, let's have a little dance here in this little courtyard with these Europeans, and they just kind of do it. And all of a sudden, like you said, it starts exploding like on the screen with the dust everywhere, and they're just like really beautifully done. And that's just one of like so many set pieces in this film that are these massive, crazy stunt. Just even the bridge scene where they're swinging, little scenes that become big scenes.
And I always love it when a title comes into the movie a little bit later, when a movie builds to the title reveal. And I think it's super awesome. I think we are at that point already like 30 minutes into the movie, then it's like RRR and our two heroes have met, and that's so awesome.
It's so funny. So yes, highly recommended. It's a great entryway if you haven't seen Baahubali yet. That's a good one, because it's just. And so then if we work backwards, I guess, is it Baahubali before that? That was his Baahubali 2.
Yeah. I think we can
talk
about
both
the
conclusion.
We can talk about both.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Baahubali 1 was a little bit more modest, I feel like. A little more adventure, a little more rural. It kind of builds a little, but it felt very different for me when you got to 2. It was spectacle and, royalty and, riches and elephants.
Yeah, but the first one also already has that huge climax with the war,
Yes.
with the battle scene.
Yeah.
So you get a lot of spectacle at the end of the first one.
Yeah.
But I think Dennis and we both like the second a lot, or at least more than the first one.
Yeah.
Because I think this the emotional stuff, the character work is much better in the second one.
Really good.
Yeah. Especially all the stuff with what's the name of his best friend and
Katapa.
Katapa, yeah.
Katapa.
Yeah.
And I also loved, of course, I should have had all this written down. I loved the some of the female characters. I feel like were a little more fleshed out in the second
Definitely, yeah. That I think that's something that we both criticized with the first one. There's this song and dance number in the first one where Prabhas basically undresses the woman with no consent at all, and the scene is done so well, so wonderfully, so magically that I don't know. I turn a blind eye to it, but when you look at it, it's pretty problematic.
It's not good.
Yeah, and in the second movie, I think the stuff with his mother and with his
I loved her,
future wife, and all that stuff. I think it works much better.
I loved her on the throne. She's always just kind of like laying. Hey, she was so great.
I think what makes the second one better is also the focus on like hero versus villain, because we have like Baahubali versus what's his name?
Balaladeva, I think.
Yeah.
Balaladeva.
Yeah. God. Yeah.
Close.
So because it's one of the great. Yeah. Balaladeva. Right. Okay. Good. So one of the things that Rajamouli does so very well is like this, putting these larger than life characters like head to head, and this is like, I mean, of course, in the first movie you have this big battle at the end, but it's like the confrontation between these two in the second movie. There's like these, I don't know, you can feel those bodies clashing, and it's just awesome. And there's like two superheroes fighting. It feels. Of course, it's also a little bit more over the top. I think the first one is over the top, of course, but the second one there are some things in there that are a little bit stupid. But
I think.
Did you say a little bit stupid?
The ending with the catapults with the trees.
That's so funny. I mean,
yeah, it is.
I like to, I love the two. They made like you were saying, the conflict very clear cut, so you knew exactly like who was doing what was at stake. It was a little blurrier, I think, in the first one, maybe also because it was my kind of first big Indian movie and trying to keep track of people, but it did seem a little bit more refined that way, and so it was a little more let's say easy to watch.
Yeah, definitely. When you just watch the first one, the dramaturgy is like, at some point we just go back into the past, and then we stay there, and we get this huge climax scene with enemies we know nothing about.
It's like, who are these guys?
And when you watch them both together, I think it works much better. But
it's only 6 hours.
It's like 6 hours.
Yeah, true.
We should do a live watch.
A little bit short.
Do a live watch. Get blocked on YouTube and spend 6 hours in a chair in front of your computer.
Yeah. But I think we can't talk about Rajamouli without talking about the composer of the soundtracks.
Oh my God, no kidding.
Who is his cousin, M.M. Keeravani, and he composed the soundtracks to all of his films. And when we watched the first Baahubali, that was immediately the one thing I fell in love with.
So good. Yeah,
we like still imitating like his music before we do a review. Always we're singing a little bit before we turn the camera
stuck in our heads after 5 years.
Go ahead, sing a few bars. Let's have some singing.
No, we're feeling shy.
No, we're not gonna do that right now. We'll do it off camera later.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're right. The music is spectacular, and it does really help give his movies their own personality. You know, it's not like just generic cool action music or something. It's like it feels thought out, and the songs are very, very catchy. Very, very catchy.
Yeah, definitely. And it's also always funny. Sometimes people comment under our videos if we like the songs because in our movies in our Western movies, there normally aren't songs, except it's a musical. So they're always wondering, did you really like all the songs? And we were always like, yeah, that's something that's kind of the best part of these movies oftentimes, and always looking forward to great song and dance numbers.
You know, that's funny you mentioned that, because I remember thinking it's going to be weird to watch these movies with these huge dance numbers in the middle that kind of take you out of the movie. And they become like my favorite part. Like, I can't wait for the dance song. Like, when I watched War, which is, we'll just pretend like it's valid in this conversation. It was this big gritty war drama. You know, they're getting out of the helicopter, super tough guy, you know, fatigue, Tom Cruise stuff going on, you know, Hrithik Roshan. I mean, I didn't know who these people were, Tiger Shroff, and I was like, oh, they're very cute. Then all of a sudden, in the middle of that, we're in the middle of this like outdoor, like sort of ruins or a castle or something, and they're dancing in these white clothes and they're best buddies, and there's, you know, paint flying everywhere, and I'm like, what the hell is this? And I was like, I kind of like this. It was like, so that was sort of like, this is pretty cool. But when I feel like when Rajamouli does it, it sort of becomes like part of the fabric of the film versus kind of this break from the film. Like, okay, we're gonna take a quick dance break, and okay, we're back to the movie. No, this feels like it's actually moving the story forward in a way, which I really appreciate. Yeah, that makes it a little bit more less like a break. Like, you don't have to pay attention. It's more like you're getting more insight in a way to these characters just by the music. And even in, I think it was 2, was that the giant ship floating, the marriage thing?
Yep.
God, spectacular. Oh my God. My God. I want to get married like that. I'll be on a ship floating in a giant swan. I know I tell people, wait till you see the marriage scene. They're like, that doesn't sound good. I'm like, no. It's like, it's good. Trust me. And then they see it and they go, what the? Okay. And then like a total U-turn from that is Eega, right?
Yeah.
Is that the next one we're on to? We just watched that recently. Yeah. We watched these all out of order. It was all over the place. So that was kind of unexpected for me.
Yeah. I think going into Eega, I read the synopsis, or maybe people also recommended Eega because it was such a crazy setup. And what should I say? I think Eega is probably my favorite movie by Rajamouli. Just because I'm totally into these David versus Goliath story. And I mean, you have a fly versus a man played by Sudeep, who's such a fantastic villain.
So good.
And the movie is just so full of creativity. And when we did that whole Buddy Loves Tollywood special review of Baahubali, I thought, let's do that for other crazy movies. And I didn't want to go with the Rajamouli movie for the second episode. But then we watched Eega, and it was so crazy that I instantly knew, we have to just continue with Rajamouli at this point. And really
was. It really was. I know that when we watched it, I try not to know too much, but I mean, there's a fly in the trailer. So I'm like, so it's going to be kind of, you know, super strong fly or something. And I was like, okay, I'll buy it, you know, and then you're watching it. And it takes a long time to get to that. Like, you're sort of invested in this character, and he's so sweet, and he has such a nice little love story. A little creepy, yeah. And then, you know, Sudeep's very creepy, but this guy was sort of cute, but a little stalkery. But when he gets killed, I guess he was killed. I was like still shocked. Like, I can't believe that they let him get killed. And then you were, I get it now. Okay, now he's a fly. But the idea that you have a hero who's a fly was just cracking me up. And I'm rooting for a fly, and he was very cute. And just the way he discovered like how strong he was, and you know, how do you do? And the camera work, like fly vision. You know, like the camera, and it was so chaotic and crazy. But he's such a good filmmaker. You knew exactly where you were in the scene. You knew where everyone was standing. Like you never lost track of what was happening inside the room, and that's huge, because so many filmmakers do not understand that.
Yeah, Rajamouli is great in like setting these ground rules of his own world, and everything can happen in this world, and you're just okay with it, because the rules are like this, and it's fine. And it's also like a bold move to, I don't know if Nani, the actor who plays the fly later on, I mean, who plays Nani, if he was that, I think he was a big star at that time, 2012, probably also. It's a bold move to like just take him out of the movie and let him just let him do his voice, and it works. Yeah, it's great. Yeah,
it does. It totally works. He became voice talent. He got to sit in like, you know, a sound booth and just do it, where Sudeep had to go in there and be thrown around a truck, and I love that scene. But he is a super creepy guy. I mean, the minute you see him, you're like, oh no, this guy is gonna definitely abuse me. I'm not gonna get involved with this guy. And she didn't have a choice, really. I mean, he was kind of just like, you're mine, and that's the way it is.
Yeah, we actually liked Sudeep so much that we liked him so much, but we haven't seen one movie with him since.
Oh,
he has a small role in Bahubali. I think he's the guy with the sword
at the temple.
But we loved him so much. But to this day, no other movie.
Not Vikram Rona. You didn't see that? Yeah, I didn't see it.
No, we haven't. No.
It was a great campaign, great marketing campaign.
Okay.
It was beautiful. It looked kind of exotic and piratey and nautical, and looked very gorgeous. But didn't get great reviews for some reason. And he looked really great in it, But yeah, good campaign.
Yeah. I think there's an upcoming Upendra movie with Sudeep as well.
Oh,
but it also looks like one of those action movies. So I'm not sure. I will wait for the movie. But
we're gonna get a bunch of heat for that. And we're gonna be like, I can't believe you said that about Sudeep. So yeah, I really loved him in that too, and I want to also you want to seek out more of his films. So if you have other ones that you think are good, besides even though you say you haven't watched any since then, but maybe before that, maybe any other recommendations? No, we don't have any. That's the only thing we liked him in. Huge fans.
But coming back to the camera work, I mentioned already the composer MM Keeravani, but another longtime collaborator for Rajamouli is KK Senthil Kumar. Okay. He was the director of cinematography in 8 of his films.
Wow.
So I think, pretty much all of his films except the first 3. And I think that's also kind of a big deal that Rajamouli always works with the same team.
Yep.
His wife is also the costume designer and stylist for almost all of his films. And I think for a lot of his films, his father comes up with the story, or at least his father is oftentimes credited for the story. So I'm not sure how much that's a joint effort, or I'm not sure, but I think that's also pretty cool.
No, I love that. That's really cool. I mean, I guess when you're around people all the time too, maybe you're just always collaborating even casually, and you always have ideas flying around. And there's actually, and that shows you another breakthrough for this film and for Rajamouli in America, is that there's been all these articles written about her and the costume and the wardrobe and how she's come up with it. That's become a very big deal. Because I think, did they get nominated for wardrobe in the critics circle? I think they maybe they just won a bunch of nominations in a critics circle. So that's another LA critics circle. That's another good little step up into the Oscar categories. And I'm very excited to see what's going to happen with that.
It's so interesting that I always thought that the costumes and the production design and all these things, we've watched many Indian movies by now, and even all the movies I've watched before we knew Rajamouli, and this, it's the costumes and the set design and the cinematography is so awesome, so great in so many movies, and there are so many people who don't know anything about it. And with these big movies that take place in some kingdom or have these fantastical elements. Wow, it's just one of the first movies I saw. I'm we're going away from Rajamouli just for a second. I saw Jodha Akbar was one of my first movies that I saw. It was directed by Ashutosh Govarkar, who was Lagan, the Oscar-nominated movie, was also directed by him, I think.
I think that's right.
Yeah, and this movie
I'm the fact checker here.
Check the fact, please. This movie had such a beautiful setting and such beautiful costumes and makeup, and I always thought, whoa, everybody should watch movies like this because they're so beautiful. Yeah,
you were right. Yeah,
you were
Lagan, Jodha Akbar, Swades.
Yes.
Yes, indeed. You're correct. I know the production, I think people sort of underestimate. They think the director, he's everything. It's the support staff, I call them support staff. They're way more than that. But it's everyone who makes the cinematographer, the wardrobe, the music, all that stuff that makes the whole picture, even though he's kind of overseeing it all, they're as big a partner in this as he is. I mean, really, when you think about it, I mean, a lot actors get a lot of the credit because they're on screen the whole time, but I mean, they are perfected and carved into these characters by so many elements around them, And so that's why I love, everybody goes, why do we need awards? We don't need awards. I'm like, technically true, I guess. But this is really the only time some of these below the line people get any recognition. but even like documentaries, which never get recognition. So even though some, like directors and big actors don't really need it, it's like, it's worth it just so all these other people can get to get a little bit of attention, because people kind of forget. They don't really think about it. They just go, there's cool music in it. There's good wardrobe. No one really thinks there's a person doing that. So I like that. So yeah, definitely Rajamouli has a really great team. That's for sure. So I knowing that we were going to do this, I went and watched the next two films, the Magadheera, is how you say it, and Maryada Ramanna.
Maryada.
I'm still learning how to pronounce things. I'm still mangling things.
Yeah, we all stay. Everybody's still learning.
I think you were learning.
Oh, good.
It never stops.
It's
especially when you get to Bengali cinema, then it's a whole different pronunciation, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a whole nother story. You're right. Sometimes when I see a film coming out and I look and I see who's starring in it, I'm like, oh, good, their names I can actually pronounce. Okay. And then I'll see another movie. Oh, this is the language, the ones I can't pronounce. So we can start with Maryada Ramanna. I think that was the next one in line, right? So that was the sort of comedy, right? That wasn't the rom, right?
Yeah. Rajamouli said that he wanted to do a smaller film after Magadheera was such an epic production that took like 1.5 years, I think, in total. So he wanted to make a smaller film. And I also rewatched it for this video today. And I have to say, when we reviewed it, I only gave it like a 7 out of 10. And I have to update that.
You're amending.
Maybe I would go as high as 9 out of 10. I think it's a fantastic film. I think it's different from his other films. It's not as big, not so much action, not as epic. It only takes place in the present day. Yeah. So there's not this big I mean, at the beginning we see how this whole feud began. Yeah, but I think it's such a great comedic movie, and the whole setup is so great. It's actually, I'm not sure if you can call it a remake, but it's Rajamouli has seen this American silent comedy, Our Hospitality, a Buster Keaton movie from 1923, which he really loved, and he wanted to get the rights for that movie, and then found out that it's already public domain, I think.
Yeah, I think it would be public domain by now.
Yeah,
no one's around to care. Yeah.
So he wanted to do his own version of that story, and I think the setup is just such a great setup. And why I think it's one of his best films is all of his movies are about these heroes, and there's always a lot of action, a lot of violence. But in this movie, I think it's quite hilarious how that violence is made fun of.
Yeah,
because this poor guy just wants to escape, and all these men, I mean, Indian movies unfortunately are very, very, very male-centric, but I think in this movie you can really feel the stupidity of this bunch of men who just want to kill because of some stupid stuff from the past, and I think that's really he does that so well in that movie.
He does. And not only is it they're so stupid when you do this thing from the past, is they have this stupid rule in place that they can't kill him inside the house. So as long as he's inside and they could easily have taken care of this problem quickly and easily if they'd done that. So you have this whole contrivance of him not being able to even step a toe outside, or they're like the Keystone Cops or something. They're always kind of stumbling around and trying to catch him. And it's so weird. But it also has that weird thing of like, women in these films, it's so patriarchal, the system, that they have no choice in husbands. They have no choice in, I mean, she sort of was having a choice, but her father wasn't agreeing to it. And it's always a little bit weird. You see some of these how women are treated. But she was actually a pretty strong character. Ultimately. I mean, I like how they kept dissing her for her silly little drawings. She was like an artist and she was trying to be taken seriously, but she was a woman, so they weren't going to take her seriously in her art, and you could see the hurt on her face. So he even showed that, that little dynamic of her being, torn down by her family over and over again for something that she loves and is good at. And so that was I was grateful that they had her to bounce off of, because you could kind of see why that was an important relationship, and not just, she wasn't just a figurehead like so many women are in these movies. They just look beautiful, and that's basically their only value. So I did really like that. So the movie had a little bit of a deeper emotional core than I expected, even though it had that silliness, because I mean, he was super goofy.
Very but he's also kind of an unlikely hero. I mean,
it was so funny.
An actor like Sunil in a hero role or in a protagonist role like this is something like,
He didn't even take his shirt off. He wasn't chiseled. What's wrong with this?
At the beginning of the movie, I think he wears like 3 shirts on top of each other. So that's
he was very covered up.
He rides the bike. They can talk.
Let's talk about how hilarious the bike was. Oh my god, that was so surreal.
I still don't understand it. Why it's in the movie? Is it maybe a famous comedian who lends the voice? I mean, is there any reason for the bike?
I'm wondering if the bike was like a throwback to Buster Keaton. Did he have a silly bike he was riding in that movie that he did that with? I don't remember.
Maybe.
I've seen a lot. There's a lot of weird stuff like that. But it was weird. The little light was like talking.
Yeah, the thing with the bike is also like we haven't watched this movie together, but when we watch movies separately, most of the time someone writes a text to the other one, the one who has seen the movie is like, okay, wait for that scene. I'm so eager to know what you think about it. And when you watch the movie, you know, okay, that's the scene he was talking about, the scene with the bike.
Exactly. Just wait till you get to 1 hour, 2 seconds, and you're going to say something I want your opinion on. But it's
it's like the same thing with the scene in Eega where the fly. What does the fly ride on the window?
Oh, that's right.
Of the car.
Yeah, it's at the interval, I think.
Yeah. He has this huge accident, and the fly writes something on the window. It's like, okay, that's the scene. That's the scene we're going to talk about.
Because a fly could definitely do that. Could definitely write that. I mean, he was an extra strong, extra smart fly. We give him superhero powers. And I loved. You're right. That mostly took place on one location, but I also loved the train ride scene. Like they had a lot of funny stuff on the train ride with the other passengers and that one.
Yeah, with the coconut, I think.
Yeah, they had that gag with him not being able to get the coconut in the window. Yeah. It was so suave. It was so cool. But yeah, that was actually pretty fun. I enjoyed that. But it was definitely the low key Rajamouli. Not a ton of camera work that I really remember.
It was some interesting camera work where you have the door and him and outside all the goons with their machetes and stuff like that. So a little bit. Or when he was
of him not being able to leave.
On the rooftop, I think.
Yes.
And he was holding on to that.
Oh yeah, that's right. And it was kind of that was very cute. No, I'm trying to get him. That was pretty funny. Yeah, no, they had great set pieces, but they were not if that was in like RRR, it would be like on top of a mountain, and there would be like tigers, and it would be much more CGI stuff going on. But I didn't see it, and there wasn't a ton of CGI in this one except for the bike talking.
Yeah,
I think that was pretty much it.
Yeah, it was a very, very easy effect, I would say.
And I did like the bridge scene too. The jumping off the bridge scene was really, really cute. So
I think that's also what we liked. What I liked about this movie, because we, of course, like we said, we watched it backwards. And after we've seen all these big, huge blockbuster movies, it's always so nice to see when a director does something small like this. It's always interesting when Christopher Nolan does something small, or if Steven Spielberg does a small movie, or Rajamouli does a movie like this. So it was interesting. So what does he do with a little budget, or the little story that's not like 2,000 years ago in the kingdom and something like that? Yeah,
that's true. That is really fun to see that. And then we go to
because of the CGI. It's of course at the beginning the first song, because it wants to paint Sunil as this big loser character. He has this accident on the road, and all the cars are flying up in the air. So when you watch the movie and that scene happens, you are like, "What the hell is this?"
You're like, "This movie's gonna be crazy!" And then that was basically the only big stunt in the whole movie. That was funny. I was like, "I guess it's gonna be like this now." I don't know. Is it gonna be so strange? But yeah, that was a pretty fun movie, and very accessible, like funny and very easy to watch, and not too hard. Magadheera. Is that how you say that?
Magadheera, yeah.
2009. Yeah. I had some problems with that movie. I don't know if you're allowed to say you have problems with Rajamouli, but I did. Yes. I thought the relationship was the dumbest thing I've ever seen. It was like the modern day stuff was so ridiculous. The trying not to like her keeping her identity secret and him trying to figure out who she is. I was like, this is like elementary school level stuff. Like, you guys are adults. I was like,
yeah, we see that quite often in Indian movies, that people who are already in their late 20s or in their 30s and they act like they are still in high school, and they are so. But I think they're probably more inexperienced when it comes to stuff like that, and we see it so often that they don't know how to interact with someone they like. They just stalk her until she leashes.
Till she says yes, gives in.
Yeah,
fine, I'll marry you.
So yeah,
that's not the way to do it.
How else do you do it? How are you supposed to get to her?
Everything I know from life, I've learned from Indian movies.
It's like always ask the father first. I know I'm in. You get permission. I know, that's fine. So I appreciate I loved the beginning because it was so like, what's happening? And they had the big, it was back in the past. And you could tell that's his comfort zone. I mean, to me, when they do that, so we start off with it in the past, like 400. I don't know what it was. I just made up that number. I don't remember. So anyway, I just said 400. And so then all of a sudden we're into this bizarre motorcycle racing thing, like modern day. And you have this really cool, which I wish there was more of her, the cool chick in the Converse. I loved her, like the super motorcycle chick. She was amazing. Well, she was great. So you have this craziness happening and you're like, I don't know. I liked him better. Raman was better back then. I didn't like his modern day doofusness, And then when they do the modern day stuff, thankfully that's over. And then you go back to the past again. So much better. Like the movie is just so much better. And you can tell that's where his love is. Like the modern day stuff, it just felt like he wasn't super into it. It didn't feel realistic. But you believe everything he does when he was in the past. That's just me though. That's just me. Yeah. Maybe I just like seeing Ram Charan shirtless. I don't know. It could be that.
Yeah. I mean, it has been quite a while since we watched that movie. I think at least 2 or 3 years. So I don't remember it that well, but I do remember that when I was just into this whole combination of past and present and the epicness to that, and the whole finale, wasn't it on this long bridge?
Yeah.
Kind of like 300 inspired.
Yeah.
And whole army like running towards him or something. Like he's like, But
and he's on the mountain, and it's the Jeep is flying over, and this is crazy. So you could see the little glimmers again, like you see the little glimmers of where he's headed. And that's what I liked about it too. You sort of go, oh, that's where he's sort of trying out this idea, and he's going to kind of polish it up for the next few movies.
Yes, but that's how it feels with this movie, especially because like you have all these connections to Baahubali, especially where you think, okay, like this could be right out of the other movie. It just took the idea another time. But that's totally okay, of course.
I mean, still, even though I didn't love the modern day, it was a super entertaining movie, and I still watched the whole thing and was intrigued and stayed with it because he's a good filmmaker, and I knew, okay, I'm not loving the writing here, but it's like he pulled it off with engaging performances. Yeah. He brings in the cool stunts and camera work. He was a little bit more modest on doing that stuff then, because probably budgetary, I assume, because he was older. But he's still, you could tell that this is a great filmmaker. And now I love that he's getting worldwide recognition right now because he's done this body of work that's really impressive.
Yeah. I think Magadheera was a super important movie also in his career. I read on Wikipedia that it was the most expensive Telugu film of all time when it was made, and it became the highest grossing Telugu film of all time at the end of its run. So I think when you look at his career, movie to movie, he kind of gets more and more famous, and Magadheera was super important.
Yeah, and that's another step up.
If a movie like you said is not like that 100% entertainer, like maybe his later movies, they still always are like structured in a way that doesn't bore you, especially if there's like a dancer like Ram Charan, because the songs and dances in this movie are all so awesome. If I can't remember anything about that movie, it's still his dance moves.
Yeah, you're right about that.
I still have them in my mind, and it's like there's always something to watch the whole movie, like, because you don't get bored.
No. No, when I'm making my complaints, I say, it's like it's mostly because I've seen what he can do. So I went back to that. I was a little disappointed, and it's mostly just the writing. Again, I loved Ram Charan dancing. His performance is fun. He's a very engaging actor. I just felt like it could have been stronger if the object of his affection, which was this woman that died, and they both spoiler, first 5 minutes fall off a cliff. I wish I felt like I believed in that relationship more, that it seemed more important But then when you go back to the past, it seemed important again. So I'm like, okay, I'll take it. I'll buy it. You sold me on it, even though their courtship was kind of dorky. Like, they wasted a lot of damn time in that courtship. When they dressed up his friend as a woman, what the hell?
Yeah, there was that scene.
What is happening? It was so painful.
But I really loved. Wasn't he riding on a horse next to a bus? That's the movie, right?
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, he was following her.
Yeah, there was this thing with her. I like that. I have to rewatch it for
I did like
sometime.
I did like. Have you guys been to India?
Not yet. No.
I went to India about like 8 years ago, I think, and what I love, there's no laws in the street, traffic laws. They just don't exist. So, and I remember we were talking to the guy who drove our van or whatever it was. He was like, he's afraid to come to America because he thought there were too many rules in the road. So meantime, as we're in the Jeep, there's like, when they're at an intersection, I think I have a photo of this somewhere. You have the buses, you have who honk. Everybody's driving down the middle of the street and they honk when they want to get over, and you just do. They just trust the other person to do the right thing and do that, but they have a lot of accidents. They had a donkey with a cart. They had a motorcycle. They had a guy walking with his goats. They had, like, the streets are just a free for all. You could do whatever you want. You know, like, there's no like, this is just for cars. And when you get to an intersection, it's kind of a, you know, who's going to go first? There's no real lights or stop signs. You just kind of decide. So it's kind of crazy. So him on a horse totally made sense to me.
Yeah. I think if he was afraid to go to the United States, I think he shouldn't come to Germany because the rules are even more strict. Because when we watch American movies, there are often cars that look like they shouldn't belong on a street anymore. And in Germany, it wouldn't be allowed to drive around in a car like that. The police would stop you immediately and say it's
maybe they cram everybody into those little tiny buses, you know, and everybody's just crammed. No, that would not work. That would not work.
Maybe he would feel okay in Italy. Italy also has
That's true.
Like, everybody drives like crazy. So maybe
you can drive on the sidewalk there. They don't care. Do whatever you want. That's so funny. So that's what we took away from that movie, is the traffic. The traffic was very interesting in that movie. So I think that's all I've seen of his movies so far. I don't know if you guys have seen more and have more opinions on other.
Yeah, we have seen 3 more.
Okay.
Recommend
Yamadonga,
Vikram Kudu, and Chhatrapati.
And Chhatrapati. Okay. Yeah, Yamadonga was a bizarre experience for me because I already started to watch that movie. I think maybe even before Eega. I'm not sure anymore. Okay. But I watched it like for an hour, and then I just stopped it because it was just too much for me at that point. At that point, I was just ready into Indian cinema. Yeah. I wasn't ready. It was so exhausting. It was so loud, so hectic. There were so many, like you said, his best friend who dresses as a girl, and there's also stuff like that in Yamadonga with the side characters being really crazy. And when you watch these movies, you can see the development of Rajamouli to make the movies more like as accessible for audiences all around the globe, maybe, because in these older Telugu movies, there are just these comedic interludes that aren't connected to anything, and they can be very, for a non-Telugu audience, they can be very extreme because you have these sound effects, and the movie
Mickey
was just too much for me. Yeah, Mickey Mousing. But then, after we have watched many other Rajamouli movies, I went back. And I have to say, Yamadonga is also, it's definitely worth checking out. It's really good. It stars NTR Jr., way younger, also fantastic dancer. There's an early song sequence in that movie in a disco. I think that's so amazing. When you watch that, you can't believe that someone is able to dance like that.
It's insane. Yeah. I'm always like, this has to be CGI. No human can do this.
Yeah, exactly.
I've seen movies now of his, so I think I'm ready to watch this movie. I can take it. I'm gonna watch this insane movie and go, yeah, that's about right.
Yeah.
I mean, to be honest, I can't remember much about Chhatrapati from 2005. It's also with Prabhas from Baahubali.
But that's the last movie that we watched.
Yeah, I can't remember. We watched RRR.
Yeah, we watched RRR. Okay, but it's less than a year ago.
Yeah.
You don't remember the attack of the shark?
We're not here to talk about me.
There's a shark attack in this.
There's a shark attack.
Yeah, there's
and
a shark
it's
attack.
a Telugu movie from 200005. It's with CGI.
Yeah, it looks
horrendous.
Worse than Jaws.
Yeah,
That's really
maybe
funny.
the worst.
I love Jaws. I did not mean to tease Jaws. It was all practical. That's why it looked kind of dorky. But
what I wanted to say is that I can't remember much about Chhatrapati.
What I was saying,
beside the shark attack, but I do remember a little bit about Vikramarkudu because like there I can remember the atmosphere and the setting because it's like this desert or like always sand and red and rock and all this stuff and the weapons they use. I still remember the weapon with these like he has this I don't know how to. You have to watch it.
He's got this and it spins. I don't know what it is.
Yeah, the thing that spins and can kill people. Yeah, I don't
Slingshot.
know.
I don't know.
I'm not sure if it began with Vikramarkudu.
I'm trying to think of spinning weapons. Jimmy's trying to get back on track.
Yeah, I'm trying to get back here, please. Because in Vikramarkudu, the villains, they are in this desert setting, but the rest of the movie is not. And you have these two areas. And
it has this Mad Max feeling.
Yeah, it has a little bit of a Mad Max feeling. But from that movie onwards in Yamadonga, you have this, it takes place in hell. Or is it heaven? Or is it
heaven? Sometimes it's hard to tell.
But it has this huge mythological and religious thing going on. And then Magadheera, you have the past and the present, and then of course with Baahubali, the 2 time periods. So I think it's also an element that runs in many of his movies. And in Vikramarkudu, I think that's the first time where you have these Mad Max like stuff and then the real world and it clashes, but it somehow works.
That sounds actually very cool. I think we're gonna watch that next. I want to see the shark attack I was talking about.
It's a shark attack.
It's in Chhatrapati and it happens very, very early on. And if you aren't out after that, you
I figure it's part of my education that I need to watch this film. I got to get through it. Even it might be in pieces to get through this film. Well, I think this has been so much fun, you guys. I want to do this again. We definitely need to do this more because this was so much fun and I learned a lot. You guys, I learned a lot from your channel. I'm still feel like a newbie because I'm still you guys go back into the past a lot, like older movies, which I'm still trying to get to, but there's so many new ones being demanded that I have to do those. Yeah. But I keep wanting to go back to some of the older ones. We're trying to do more of that. But if you have recommendations for like, older films that you highly recommend, I was at your top 10. So I know some of your top 10s that weren't super new. If there's anything you want to suggest, I would love to do it. Not necessarily right now.
When it comes on the spot. Telugu cinema, there's this classic that we also still have to watch. It's Dennis, you probably know it. Maya Bazaar. I think Rajamouli,
classic,
Yeah, it's the Telugu classic. I think Rajamouli also put it in his top 10 for Sight and Sound. I think he also, Maya Bazaar. But it's only available in a colorized version, I think. So until now, we haven't watched it.
So maybe that could be something we can all watch and then talk about.
Yeah.
If we can find it.
Yeah.
If you find it, just let me know where it is.
It's always difficult to find these old movies.
It's hard to find the new ones. They'll be like, it's only on Disney Hotstar in India. And next thing you know, I'm seeing it on Hulu going, no one told me this was on Hulu. I can watch it right now. Like, damn it. So then I'm subscribing to, all these Indian streaming services when it just shows up on Hulu. It's like,
we don't even have Hulu here. So,
no, you don't?
I mean, with a VPN, but
people recommend us like, hey, here's a link, watch it there. But it's like the most terrible quality I've ever seen. I'm not going to watch that.
Or it says, video unavailable. That's right.
Yeah, that also happens. But I also post links and I click on the link and it's the movie without subtitles. So I'm like, but I don't understand the language.
But Jimmy, you've watched like 400 movies by now.
Don't you
know the language? The language
there's like 10 languages or 20. It's hard to keep track. I know. It's funny though. I do feel like I'm kind of starting to learn them, but I think it's mostly from the songs when you try and sing phonetically and you're trying to figure it out. I'm kind of learning that.
It's kind of nice that with time you at least I can tell them apart. I don't know. Because like Malayalam and Tamil definitely sound different than to Hindi. Yeah,
you're right. And, that's true.
And it's always nice to like watch a movie maybe where you don't know where it's from and like try to recognize the language. But
that's true. Because I'll watch one and I'll go, oh, you watched the Hindi one, that's way different. I'm like, dudes, I'm reading the subtitles. It's not. And then when I see the real one, I'm like, oh yeah, the language does look better and just sound more immediate and emotional with the real guys. Okay, fine. You're right. I won't watch it in Hindi then. I'm trying to avoid Hindi dubbed movies if I can help it. Because I do like hearing the original languages because that's so much. It's just better. This was super great. Thanks, you guys. We're going on an hour. I could easily talk for another hour, but I guess we should stop. It'll be very, very long. So thanks so much for spending your evening talking to me here at Cinemondo about SS Rajamouli. And we'll all be like, when they announce the Oscars, let's all cross our fingers and please.
Yeah, I'm very optimistic.
I'm too. I think he's got a really good shot. At least nominated. He should win, but nominations. I don't know what else is in the running for a top movie, but it seems like really the most memorable thing I've seen all year. So thank you so much. And stay on after the little ending and we'll just chat for a second. Sure. All right. See you later.